Hey everybody, welcome to the Blue Chip Podcast by fans for fans. This is your host Cody Potter. How y'all doing? We're going to do a first round mock today. We're just going to kind of wing it. Just going to get right into this thing. Don't really need too much into it. Going to get this first round. Going to do every team. Going to kind of give some explanations. Like I said, we're going to roll right through this. Get all 32 teams done, and then that's how this is going to go. So right into this, we're going to start and be interactive with this. First pick, pretty self-explanatory. Fernando Mendoza, worst kept secret in the draft. Don't think we really need to go over this too much. Quarterback worthy of the pick, no matter how PFF has him graded or has him ranked. Fernando Mendoza is probably my number 2 player overall. So you're not really reaching on this, man. This is great value. Has everything, all the traits, man. We've gone over Fernando Mendoza, the way that he played against Miami, the way that he played against Oregon, the way that he played against Ohio State. Every matchup that he had, man. This dude in the biggest moments, he really excelled in this last year, and he showed a lot of those things at Cal. Has really, really good, arm strength. Does he have the strongest arm? No. But every trait that he has, man, he's a true dynamic, everything that you look for. If you're building a quarterback in the lab, with mobility, with his size, the field vision and things like that, is he going to make a couple mistakes, with pressure in his face and things like that? Of course, a lot of young quarterbacks do. I think it's a home run pick, man. We don't have to beat the drum on it. He's going to get his shine. He's going to get his press. There's a reason that his average draft position is 1 of 1. Yep, there we go, man. Fernando Mendoza to the Las Vegas Raiders. I think it's a great pick. Before the Max Crosby trade kind of fell through, I really loved that trade for the Raiders because I thought it put him in position to get like an Omar Cooper Jr. or a Denzel Boston, who are 2 of my favorite wide receivers in this whole class overall. I really, really liked the opportunity that they had. The Ravens since rescinded the trade, so again, not going to be there. But on to the Jets, man. The Jets could go a lot of different ways. There could be a lot of cycling through names on this. Ultimately, I think it's going to be defense. The best player is defense. As far as best player available outside of Jeremiah Love, without having the quarterback, man, and without already having Breece Hall, you're not gonna select Jeremiah Love. So realistically, I think this is one of those times where you really need to go ceiling, man. We're gonna go Arvell Reese to the New York Jets, man. I just, wherever I have Arvell Reese graded, I think he's a premier top end, linebacker, off ball linebacker. He's going to play edge. Does that mean he's going to be an edge in a 3-4 or a 4-3? We don't know. Ultimately, I think his best position is a 3-4 outside linebacker, but I think that gives him still the skill set to be able to do drop in coverage and do all the things that he does excel at. His best skill sets are off-ball linebacker, but he rushes the pass rusher. He has all the physical makeups, to be an elite blue chip rusher in this draft. So again, Arvell Reese, like I said, depending, my grades are based on tape. It's an accumulation of years. That's why I do not have him as a blue chip player in this draft. But he's a blue chip skill set. He has a blue chip toolbox. Height, weight, speed, everything. You saw what you wanted to see from a player with those type of traits this last year at Ohio State. It finally clicked for him. Realistically, if Ohio State had dominated through the playoffs and Arvell Reese had been a little bit more impactful probably in that Miami game, we are talking about a pick number 2 overall lock in this draft. So the skill set is there, everything is there for him. The New York Jets need a lot of things. So, realistically, you really can't go wrong with this pick. It's almost very similar to this next pick with the Arizona Cardinals. So we're going to get on to the Arizona Cardinals. Like I said, we're going to kind of roll right through this. We don't need, 20-minute explanations for why I'm making each pick. We're going to roll right through this, man. So, to me, the Arizona Cardinals need a lot of things. To me, offensive tackle is the greatest need. I'm a lot higher probably on this player, and it's not because I'm a Miami University fan. It's because I think he is a premier offensive tackle in this draft. Honestly, I think he's a premier offensive tackle in just about any draft. The height, weight, speed is all there. The athletic makeup, the markers. He's going to play right tackle. He's already a right tackle. They already have Paris Johnson there for the Arizona Cardinals. So Francis Mauigoa, that's going to be the pick for the Arizona Cardinals, man. I don't think it's a reach. I think he's very, very worthy. I have a higher grade on him than most. More than, for what I'm seeing consensusly around the league. I think it's a very good fit for them. I think it would be a very, very good addition for them going forward. Maybe they're probably going to address quarterback in next year's class because this year's just not going to be the year for them. It gives you two bookend tackles, man. It gives you an opportunity to, build around the foundation that they've already been starting on that team. They've put a lot of assets on that offense, whether it's Marvin Harrison, Jr., Paris Campbell, like I said, but they've addressed this team. I think giving another premier offensive tackle to the Arizona Cardinals, I think that's the best case that they can do. The Tennessee Titans, there's a multitude of variations that they could go. We've heard a lot of Jeremiah Love conversation with this team. Adam Schefter since reported that he thinks the starting spot for Jeremiah Love is at 5. That's not why I'm not making this pick right here. I mocked Jeremiah Love to the Tennessee Titans in my first mock before pretty much anything in the offseason went about, whether before the combine, before the Senior Bowl, before pro days and everything like that, before free agency and things like that. I think the Tennessee Titans have enough at running back to be able to supplement it. I thought getting them a premier player was why. I just thought Jeremiah Love was too good. That's why I put him there. I still think there's a chance he goes there. But Robert Saleh being a defensive head coach, they've made some additions on their defensive front. It would be the same thing for me with any of the teams that would pick Jeremiah Love that have added a running back this offseason, or even having, Pollard on the Titans and Tajay Spears. Good players should never stop you from taking great players. So again, adding a Jermaine Johnson, having trading away the defensive tackle that they got from Texas a couple years ago for Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson was drafted while Robert Saleh was in New York. That shores up. It gives them a depth piece at edge, but I don't think that would stop me from. It wouldn't stop me from taking a David Bailey or a Reuben Bain Jr. It is preference at this point, what they want. Robert Saleh, I think, is always the traits guy. So when I look at the traits, when I'm looking at, what Robert Saleh typically would look for in an edge, that's why I'm making this selection in David Bailey to the Tennessee Titans. So to the New York Giants, man. When I'm looking at these 4 names right here, I don't even have to scroll down, but when I'm looking at these 4 names, I'm only scrolling down because I'm going to add Carnell Tate to this discussion. Carnell Tate is a very real option for this team, giving Jackson Dart another weapon. It would be the same thing in the conversation for Jeremiah Love. Cam Scatterby would not stop me from taking Jeremiah Love. Was their other running back? He's a good player. He's a really good player. But again, not going to stop me from taking a premier player like Jeremiah Love. Again, the additions that they made at the linebacker position would not prevent me from taking Sonny Styles. So where did the New York Giants want to go? Harbaugh is an identity player. I could very much see Caleb Downs in this spot. I could see Reuben. Every player on this list right here, Mansour Delane, Carnell Tate, every player but Reuben Bain Jr., I would pretty much say is a realistic option at this point for the New York Giants. Based off of grades, Jeremiah Love would be my best player right there with Sonny Styles. So I have Sonny Styles graded very, very highly. Once I really, really locked in my grades, I had a huge grade on. I see that PFF has updated their Daniel Thiemann, which that's actually very, very close to where I have him graded, is in the top 10, top 11. I have him as a top 12 player in this draft. So again, I said PFF was going to start changing their grades. Things start to catch up. I had Daniel Thiemann graded in the top 12 in this draft. It's nice to see them move him up the board. Testing and everything, of course, factored into that. I saw what I saw on tape. That's all I needed to see. When he ran what he ran, that's what I saw on tape. So again, we could talk about any of this. And honestly, I think Daniel Thiemann could be a selection there, man. A really, really rangy, really, really smart back end, true center fielder safety that could play in the box. Has the physical makeup and ability to play in the box, but has the range and the smarts and the eyes and everything that you need, and the instincts and the discipline to play on the back end of the defense. Daniel Thiemann is a really, really, really good player. And again, I wouldn't even mind him for the Commanders, because honestly, I have such a high grade on Daniel Thiemann. And the biggest weakness on the Commanders' defense, especially after the addition of Nick Cross, I think Daniel Thiemann makes a lot of sense. So to the selection for the New York Giants, man. Realistically, man, I'm going to go with Jeremiah Love. I'm going to give them the best running back in this draft. I think he's a pass catching weapon. Can play the running back, does everything you want from the running back position inside and outside of the tackles. Then he adds in the multitude, facet of the game of he is a really, really good pass blocker. He can excel, out of the backfield as a pass catcher. You could even line him up in the slot and all the versatility that Jeremiah Love offers. That's why I have him graded so high. That's why he's a top 5 pick. The New York Giants, I just gave them a stud. To the Cleveland Browns. So wide receiver, offensive tackle. I mean, that's been the consistent narrative around this team. There's been a lot of Monroe Freeling, mocks that I'm seeing up there for them, and then Cornell Tate. I think that's pretty much between the two players that you could say. You could add Mekhi Lemon in there, because I think Mekhi Lemon is that good. There's a narrative about him based off of what came out of the combine and things like that. To me, realistically, the best offensive lineman is Vega Iona. That is the best offensive lineman for me. He is the highest graded offensive lineman for me in this draft, even over Maui Noah. Guards are not as valuable, of a positional value as, getting a premier left tackle or right tackle. But that said, he is the highest graded lineman for me. They have the needed guard, but I think they'll get a good value later on in the draft. They have a ton of picks. They're not rebuilding this offense completely in 1 year. That said, they could, like I said, it's between offensive line and wide receiver for me. Could they go Spencer Fanu? Could they go Monroe Freeling? That's the mock that I'm starting to see. I think the Cleveland Browns have always been an upside kind of pick. They like athletic players. The height, weight, speed. They very much factor that into a lot of things. You look at Myles Garrett. You look at a lot of players that they've selected over the years. Honestly, outside of their quarterback, they pick physical freaks. Quinshon Judkins, the running back, and things like that. This pick right here is to only excel what they're already strengthening in, and it gives them some more protection, and hopefully it allows whoever they decide to play their quarterback to excel at the position. I think Monroe Freeling is a really, really high upside player. I liked his tape. I saw what I needed to see from him at the combine and things like that. From what I see on tape from him, he is an athletic freak. He's got the athletic profile. If he puts it in the weight room and really, really excels and really, really defines his work ethic and his technique, this guy's going to be a premier offensive tackle in the NFL. So, to the Washington Commanders, man. Honestly, they could go a multitude of ways right here. I mean, my probably 3 or 4 top favorite players in this draft are right here. So let's just take it down to these top 5 names. Sonny Styles, Ruben Bain Jr., Caleb Downs, Mansour Delane, Cornell Tate. Daniel Jeremiah gave us Ruben Bain Jr. We all know that I love Ruben Bain Jr. Adam Peters has always been a height, weight, speed guy. Signing Clavon Chase on to a 1-year contract, finally putting a long-term addition on this team in the Odafe Owe signing. Really, really good signing. Charles Omenihu is another 1-year player that can move around, can really be disruptive in the pass game, plays really good in the run game as well. He's not an elite run defender, but he definitely does his work. Definitely does work there. This team has given up a lot of yards. For me, this is a really, really hard position to be in. With, I mean, you really can't go wrong with this. Cornell Tate would be an amazing pick here. Get Jaden Daniels another weapon. that would be more drafting for need. So again, drafting for need and drafting for upside. I am a best player available, always kind of guy. I love Caleb Downs. I think Caleb Downs would be a huge addition on this team. But in my last mock, as we know, when I took Jeremiah Love, Sonny Styles was a very, very, very hard player for me to pass on. He was my highest graded player. As I said before, I didn't give Ruben Bain Jr. a blue chip grade. Height and weight and measurables and things like that do ultimately factor in. On tape, he is a blue level upside player to me. He has everything. He's a blue level upside, really, really good. He is a cornerstone player. Like passing on Ruben Bain Jr. right here is really, really hard for me. But to keep this mock moving, I'm going to take one of the biggest players in this draft that I think is going to be a huge, huge cornerstone piece for this team. I'm taking Sonny Styles, the linebacker from Ohio State. I know we brought in Leo Chenal. I know we have, I love the linebackers that we have here. Frankie Louvu, Jordan McGee. I like players that we have on this team at the linebacker position. We addressed the position last year with the linebacker out of UCLA, who's got some really, really good speed and some really, really high upside. Can they make the most out of one of them players? Maybe if they believe in that player a little bit more, maybe they don't go Sonny Styles. Maybe they go Caleb Downs. Maybe they go Carnell Tate. However they feel in the building about them player, but for me, Sonny Styles way too good to pass up in this spot. So on to the New Orleans Saints. If Sonny Styles had fell to the New Orleans Saints right here, that would be the quickest pick I can make. The New Orleans Saints, realistically, could they go back to the well at wide receiver from Ohio State? I think that's what they would do here with Carnell Tate on the board. The way that this fell, Ruben Bain Jr. could be another option to pair with Chase Young and the other guys that they have there. If it was Sonny Styles was on the board, Sonny Styles would be the pick ultimately quick. It'd be very, very quick for me. I'm going to go Carnell Tate right here. I think they need to get some guys for Tyler Shuck. They clearly like Tyler Shuck. That's the position that we're going to go. Again, almost like the last pick, if Carnell Tate was available right here, I think it would be a run and in pick. Since Ruben Bain Jr. is so good, I really hate to see him go to the Chiefs, but that's where he's going. Really don't even need to explain it. They need more defensive help on this team. They're trying to retool. They're trying to get younger. They're trying to get cheaper. Ruben Bain Jr. going to the Kansas City Chiefs, man, that's a super, super, super strong player to pair with everything that they got on that defensive front. That is a strong defensive front with the edge that they already have with Chris Jones. I know Chris Jones is working towards the end of his career, but Ruben Bain Jr. is a guy that can play inside, can play outside. Spagnuolo would get the absolute most out of Ruben Bain Jr. I have no doubt he would be a blue chip player for Kansas City going forward. I have no doubt about that. I'm going to actually make a little pick that I don't think is going to surprise some people right here, only because of the rankings, the consensus, and everything that we heard through the season. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to go Daniel Thielen. They're going to pick Daniel Thielen over Caleb Downs. I love Caleb Downs. This is not a knock on Caleb Downs, and honestly, he's going to be the pick here. It was a preference style. I think the back end of that defense needs more range. I think they need more speed, and I think they need more physicality. I think Daniel Thielen gives you the best of all those worlds. And honestly, if Caleb Downs was a true free safety, I would put Caleb Downs in that spot. I could see Caleb Downs being in that spot because honestly, they need a strong safety. They need an upgrade at strong safety. They need an upgrade at free safety. I just value Daniel Thielen right there with Caleb Downs. I think they're both very, very closely graded players. Caleb Downs is in my top 5. Daniel Thielen is my 12th overrated graded player. But the positional need, I think it's bigger at the free safety spot. I think free safety spot is a harder position to find. There's typically not that many free safeties that ever have the tape that Daniel Thielen has and then have the impact that Daniel Thielen has consistently as he does. He gets turnovers and things like that. That's going to be the difference for me for that pick. I could really go the top 2 guys right here all together. It could be Mansour Delane. I would have no problem with the Dolphins picking Mansour Delane. I think there's a lot of mocks putting Mansour Delane here. They're putting Mansour Delane there because Caleb Downs is not available. Because Caleb Downs is available, he's going to the Miami Dolphins. This is the floor for where I think Caleb Downs could go. It just worked out in the draft that way. That's why I'm doing it. Caleb Downs is the pick for the Miami Dolphins. That is a home run selection. If Caleb Downs was available to the Dallas Cowboys, that is the absolute floor. He would not make it past the Dallas Cowboys if available. I think there's a world where that is possible, but that is the absolute floor. I think Daniel Thiemann to the Dallas Cowboys is another possibility. But very similar to how all these picks have pretty much worked since the Tennessee Titans, the player that has gone for the next pick has been because the player picked before them was gone. Same thing here with the Dallas Cowboys. Mansour Lane. They need a corner. They need cornerback help. They need defensive back help. If either of the safeties were available, I think those would be the pick. If Sonny Styles was available, those would be the picks for the Dallas Cowboys. And like I said, we're going to keep this moving. We're going to keep rolling with this. The Los Angeles Rams. I know they brought back their tight ends. The Los Angeles Rams are a best player available type team. I think they could go Alavega Iona. I don't think it would be a reach here. I think they could go Mekhi Lemon. I think they could go Kenyon Sadiq. They could go Spencer Fanu. Spencer Fanu is probably the position that they go in this draft because I don't think that they would think that. I don't think they're going to get a tackle like Spencer Fanu. This is kind of a fall for me for Spencer Fanu. I have a high grade on Spencer Fanu. Do I know what the Los Angeles Rams would do in this situation? Because honestly, I think you're going to have very, very similar grades, whether it be Mekhi Lemon, whether it be Kenyon Sadiq, whether it be Spencer Fanu. Some people think this might be a little bit too high for Kenyon Sadiq, but I have a very, very high grade on Kenyon Sadiq. I think he's a hell of a player. And honestly, I like the tight end out of Purdue, not Purdue, Diego Pavia, with Diego Pavia. Over there at Vanderbilt, yeah. I like that tight end. I have very, very high grades on him too. Again, the athletic upside, the tape that I've seen, the dominating presence, everything that they do. I think these are both very, very true difference makers at tight end. Because I think Mekhi Lemon wins very, very similarly to the way that Puka Nacua wins, is the only reason I'm going to go with the tackle here. I think they have enough pass-catching weapons to get to the Super Bowl if they stay healthy. I do think they would love to get a Mekhi Lemon, a cheaper wide receiver. They could go a Denzel Boston. They could go whatever their preference is. They could go that route. I would understand it. I could even see Omar Cooper Jr. I think Omar Cooper Jr. would be electric on that team after the catch, things like that. But again, very, very similar to how they use Puka Nacua. So again, if it was a vertical presence wide receiver, if there was a true game-breaking speed, top flight, top end wide receiver that was worthy of it, that takes the top off the defense, I think that would be a home. They would run that card in right off the break. I don't even think it would take any time. Baltimore Ravens right here. You lost. Baltimore Ravens are one of them teams that always goes for the player that's falling. Pick their preference. I know they've had some marks at the wide receiver position. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm going to give them Mekhi Lemon right here. That just seems like a Ravens pick. They always pick the best player available. That's what they do. They don't reach down the board. If a player falls them in the first round, which always kind of happens, that's what they do. And then this pick for me, I've made this pick multiple times. I know that they re-signed Cade Otton. This would give them a truly dynamic 12 personnel look, 13, however they want to run it. If two tight ends are on the field, Kenyon Sadiq and Cade Otton for Baker Mayfield and the way that they use guys. If they wanted to go wide receiver, I could very much see that with Mike Evans not being there with the injuries that they've had at the wide receiver position over the years. I think Kenyon Sadiq can be flexed out to the slot. I think he can play the wide receiver position. He can impact from the tight end position. He's also good at a blocker. So you have a lot of scheme versatility with Kenyon Sadiq there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So again, I really like that matchup for them. Baker Mayfield has really, really improved his game over the middle of the field as a quarterback as he's progressed in this league and gotten a lot more experience. He would be surgical with Kenyon Sadiq and Cade Otton. That would be a really, really, really dynamic 12 personnel setup. And I think it'd be very, very hard to stop. And that's why I'm making that pick there. So on to the New York Jets. I already gave them Arvell Reese. Again, it's pick your poison here. I mean, they need a lot of things. Best player available kind of thing. I don't think they reach. We gave them kind of the edge, hybrid linebacker, kind of player. There's no quarterback worthy of this pick. I'm not I know what Jamal McCoy's tape is, but the injury and then not working out to this point, I can't grade him up here. A complete year off from an ACL injury. I know he's going to be ready for camp and all these things. His tape is probably the best from his last year of playing. The Jets can't be taking risks at this point. Again, that's why I really can't go Jordan Tyson here, is because the Jets cannot afford to be, gambling on these picks. They don't have the quarterback lined up. There's a lot of things that are missing from the New York Jets. It's got to be best player available for me. My best player on this board at this point would actually be Omar Cooper Jr. Omar Cooper Jr. paired up with a player that the guard from Penn State would actually be my highest graded player on this board, but I don't think that's where they would go with this pick. I think getting Omar Cooper Jr., who has a very, very similar skill set to Garrett Wilson, I think the wide receiver need and the wide receiver priority, they're going to go quarterback next year. I mean, they got to go quarterback next year. So again, I'm going to go with Omar Cooper Jr. I love Omar Cooper Jr. He is my highest graded wide receiver. The guard would definitely be my highest graded player on the board right here. Like I said, Ione from Penn State he's a dog, man. He is an absolute dog. The Detroit Lions, man. The Detroit Lions, to me, could go a lot of different ways. A lot of different things would make sense for me. Let's see. D-line, linebacker. Honestly, I'm probably much higher on this player. I do know that he needs a little bit of work in certain aspects of his game, but he has shown that he has shown reps where he can play that position and have the coverage ability that makes him worthy of this pick. I'm going CJ Allen to the Detroit Lions. I think this is an attitude pick. I think it fits. Him and Campbell would be really, really dynamic together. I think both of them just wreak havoc. They're super, super athletic. They can run sideline to sideline. I think that fits what the Detroit Lions need on that second level of the defense. Get letting go of the other. I can't think of his name. It's right on the tip of my tongue, man. Long hair boy, blonde hair, long hair boy. He's a stud. He's a little bit older in the tooth. CJ Allen made the most sense to me. Minnesota Vikings, man. They have been a team that I've pretty much drafted Daniel Thiemann at as every time because I thought the floor for him was pick 18. I like Daniel Thiemann. I have that high of a grade on him. I think he's worthy of the pick. The Minnesota Vikings can go a lot of different ways, man. Kyler Murray coming in there, having Jay Jettas, probably need a running back at this point. Could they pick the second Notre Dame running back? I think they really could. But at this point, I'm going to give them, probably Blake Miller. I like Blake Miller, man, but I can't go there. I'm still very high on this player. I don't care. To me, this is a clean pick. He is very much worthy of this pick. TJ Parker to the Minnesota Vikings, man. TJ Parker is a stud, absolute stud player. Again, this is the range of the draft where the grades really start getting cluttered. This is why it takes so long to kind of make these selections. You're kind of sliding down because you have a preference on a player over a different player, and what they do. This would not be my highest graded player, but I think it would complement what this team needs. More so than what they already have. If I was going off of my grades, it would be Denzel Boston here, wide receiver. I'm going to go Casey Concepcion because Casey Concepcion gives you a versatile piece that fits what you already tried to draft in a player, the player from South Carolina that hasn't really panned out for them. The Carolina Panthers. I love Casey Concepcion. Him paired with Tedero McMillan would be a really, really, really good complementary piece. He gives you the versatility out of the backfield, yards after catch. He's improved as a pass catcher every year in college. I think there's a lot more that he can even improve on as a route runner, even though I think his route running has definitely been more refined as he's gone along. And again, so I like Casey Concepcion to the Panthers. I think that gives Bryce Young another weapon. I think Bryce Young has slowly progressed year in and year out. I think it would be a really, 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 really good pick for them. Again, Dallas Cowboys, another pick in the first round. Let's see. Dallas Cowboys. Where did we go before for the Dallas Cowboys? Dallas Cowboys went Mansour D-Lane. Really, really good player. So we picked up the linebacker. We picked up the cornerback position for them. So obviously we're not going to go Jamal McCoy right here. Defensive line, I'm going to give them a player that I love, man. I watch this guy. I know he's a little bit older. This guy is worthy of this pick, man. I think that 20 is probably right around the range that he's going to go. He's just too good. Akeem Mazador from the Miami Hurricanes, man, he really, really complimented everything that Ruben Bain Jr. was doing there. If you're telling me that the Dallas Cowboys come out of here with Akeem Mazador and Mansour Delane in the first round, man, they've hit a home run draft. They have maximized their picks, and they have improved that defense exponentially. We already know what that offense is. That defense just really, really improved, and they got a hell of a fucking player with Mansour Delane. I mean, he is about as clean as you get in coverage. He is a willing tackler. He's a better tackler than I had notes on him for going through the season. As I've kind of gone back and done my double checks and things like that, he is a cleaner tackler than I really, really had, initially. Pittsburgh Steelers, this is a don't think it pick. I'm giving them the best player that I have on my board right now available to me. That's Ioana from Penn State. Doesn't have to go far from over east Pennsylvania to West Pennsylvania. Pretty easy selection for me. The need is there. I don't have a grade on a running back or a tackle that even line up for here. Could they go edge to kind of supplement and give T.J. Watson more help? Yes, they could. Keldrick Falk would be a possibility here because I know how much they definitely prioritize the pass rush. Again, I don't have a running back that's worthy here. I don't have a quarterback that's worthy here. Could we start talking the Ty Simpson in the 21 range? Could they even like the Penn State quarterback, man, Drew Aller? I mean, there's love for Drew Aller in the NFL circles. With the injury and everything like that, and everything that transpired at Penn State last year, I don't think it happens. I think we're going to give him another Penn State player. We're going to give him the best player that Penn State had on their roster last year. That's Ioana, the guard from Penn State. Doesn't have to go far. Going to stay in state and go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ioana definitely would have been my pick right here for the Chargers. I've mocked him here every time I've done a first round mock. Since he is not there, we're going to go a different direction. I'm going to give this team my highest graded wide receiver that is still available on the board, and that's going to be Denzel Boston. This is just a Chargers thing to do. The Chargers constantly draft, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" wide receivers, and they pan out. This would be a dynamic weapon for Justin Herbert. Denzel Boston, I'm running that pick in if I'm the Chargers, man. He blocks. He's everything you want from the wide receiver position. He is my second graded wide receiver. Him and Carnell Tate had the same exact grade for me in this draft. So really, technically, I guess he's my second. He's my 2A, 2B grade in this class because Carnell Tate is my second wide receiver along with Denzel Boston. They have the same exact grade for me. Omar Cooper Jr. ticks in just a notch above them, literally by a fraction of a point. For my grading system, that's how I have them. Those three, those are the guys for me. Lemon and Concepcion and Jordan Tyson, they're all graded out very, very closely behind them. But again, those are my top three. I would run that card in for the Los Angeles Chargers in a heartbeat. Denzel Boston would be a huge impact player. Gives them another really, really big dynamic weapon. Ladd McConkey, lurking over the middle of that field. That's a dynamic piece. Honestly, I could see the tight end from Vanderbilt is another guy that I'm much higher on. Maybe we haven't scrolled down far enough to see him yet. Again, I have Eli Stowers. Yeah, I have a higher grade on Eli Stowers. If I had to scroll down and take an Eli Stowers here, it wouldn't be because it's a reach, in my opinion. I have a higher grade on Eli Stowers, but because Denzel Boston was available to me, I went that pick. It's between those three players for me. If I was the Chargers and I was drafting for the Chargers, that's where I would go. I know that they prioritize SEC generally, so Eli Stowers could very much be that guy. There's not an SEC wide receiver that I think is worthy of this pick. There's not an SEC running back. There's not an SEC lineman that I think is worthy of that pick for the Chargers. And again, my best offensive guard is off the board. So again, that's why we're making that pick right there. Total difference maker from everything that, that GM is known for from back in his time with Baltimore and things like that. They're always usually going after SEC players. If there was an SEC player worthy of that pick, that's where it would have gone, but there wasn't for me. Could they have gone edge? Yes, they could. They could have gone Keldrick Falk as well. I gave them the best player that was on my board that fit their biggest need, in my opinion, that I think would make a true difference for this team. Could they go offensive line? If they're, like I said, if there was one worthy of that selection, I very much would have ran the offensive line card in for the Los Angeles Chargers. Philadelphia Eagles, man. This is honestly this is where the grades are going to, for everybody else consensusly, this is a Howie Roseman type pick. He would pick Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson fall into them at this point. Even the injury concerns and things like that, they would very much go Jordan Tyson. I think ultimately A.J. Brown gets traded. Jordan Tyson would be the pick for them. He is a consensus board kind of guy. That would be the pick for them. So to the Cleveland Browns, let's go back here. We're going to go. I'm pretty sure it was Monroe Freeling, but we're going to double check that just to make sure because realistically, it's going to be the same narrative. It's offensive line and then it's wide receiver to the Cleveland Browns. That's what everybody's doing for them. That said, I've dipped into that wide receiver well. We have tapped that wide receiver well pretty damn good. Is there a wide receiver worthy of this pick? To me, Chris Bell, I do love Chris Bell's tape coming off of a knee injury. I don't know, man. I mean, he's got the explosive traits. He is everything that you want from a wide receiver, from a height, weight, speed. Really, really put it together there at Louisville this last year. Was having a hell of a season before that came down. You got Shedeur Sanders on this roster. You got a ton of quarterbacks on this roster. Could Ty Simpson be the pick here at 24? I don't think anybody's mocked that to them yet. I haven't really seen it. Ty Simpson is definitely a preference thing. At a certain point, who are you battling with in the first round to select Ty Simpson? In fact, let's look. Let's look at that to even get up here. Chicago Bears, Caleb Williams, Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, C.J. Stroud, Patrick Mahomes, Miami Dolphins. The earliest pick would be pick 30. If you wanted to trade up and get in front of him, if you were the Cleveland Browns, if you really do like Ty Simpson and you wanted to get 3 players in this first round, maybe you go that route. Again, the wide receiver well has kind of been dried up. Are they going to pick a player that's coming off of an injury? I don't know. So again, maybe not the way that the Cleveland Browns wanted this to fall, but it's the way that it did fall. So again, we are going to have to go a different direction because, as I said, I thought that there was going to be a player available that was not available. Why are you not scrolling? This is. Where do I click this thing to get this to scroll? Okay. Well, my scrolling seems to be kind of messed up. Either way, I like this player. I don't think this is a need for them. You're not going to see this mocked to them, but I would go Peter Woods. Peter Woods is a stud athlete from the interior position. Pairing him up with Myles Garrett, that is a truly, and it's something that we haven't seen mocked. It's best player available for me for the Cleveland Browns right there since the wide receiver well. I think it's too early to pick a player coming off of a knee injury in Chris Bell. I know they would like to go wide receiver, but there's going to be plenty of wide receiver value in the second round for the Cleveland Browns. That's how I'm going to leave this pick with the Cleveland Browns. Chicago Bears. Interior offensive line, safety help. I think this is this is a perfect fit. I love Jaquan Brisker there. He since went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a player that I was really high on in free agency. It was between him and Nick Cross for me. We got Nick Cross. Emmanuel McNeil Warren. This is a stud defender. He is height, weight, speed, everything that you want. Fills that Jaquan Brisker hole that you just created for yourself because you couldn't afford to re-sign him in the back end for that team. That team is getting very, very expensive. They need to supplement that defense. They need to improve that defense. Gives you a guy that can really, really be a true dynamic safety for that team. That was a home run pick for me for the Chicago Bears. Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills could go any way that they really, really want here, man. They need to improve the overall of this roster, man. Honestly, whether it's trading for a vet, they got to find a way to get over the top, man. They need to clean this defense up. I mean, C.J. Allen could, if available, would be a really, really fine pick here. Their defense, man, their defense really, really needs it. And honestly, I'm going to go the same direction that I just went for the Cleveland Browns. It would be between Caden McDonald and Caleb Banks for me right here. I have a higher grade on Caden McDonald for the Buffalo Bills. That they need to stop the damn run. Stop the damn run. Get the ball back for your offense, man. Get off the field on third downs and be able to, if you are playing from behind, stop the damn run. That's what that team needs. That's really where I would go for them. San Francisco 49ers could go a multitude of ways, man. I think based off of what is going on with this team, I'm actually going to go Blake Miller. I'm going Blake Miller because he fits. Blake Miller is a schematical fit for everything that they do in the zone blocking scheme. I think that's a really, really good player for the San Francisco 49ers. They have to improve their offensive line in front of Brock Purdy. Trading Trent Williams this offseason, we're hearing rumors about it. They need to get younger on both sides. They need to get younger on the trenches and on both sides of the football. They need to complement what Nick Bosa is doing there. If my last pick to the Bills was available, that would have been my pick. If McDonald was available to them, I would have picked McDonald to the San Francisco 49ers. Since he wasn't available, I gave him a tackle that they can put on this team. They need to improve the trenches in front of Brock Purdy if they want to compete and continue to be the team that, isn't just sniffing the playoffs and get back to the contender status, the constant contender status that they've been for years and years. That would be the way that I would do it. Houston Texans, man. I mean, they're pretty much allergic to offensive linemen at this point. I'm going to go with one of my favorite players in this draft. Really, really elevated his stock. This is the type of offensive line that they need. This is a really, really good player. I can see him going to the San Francisco 49ers too. I went because the lineman that I took to Colton Hood to the lineman that I took from Clemson, he is a zone blocking scheme specialist. I think Illuminor could be. He's athletic enough to play the zone blocking scheme. I think he's more of a man guy. That's the position that I went there. It just fit. It fit for the Houston Texans. They need linemen, and he's a bigger lineman. That's the type of scheme that they run. They like bigger, imposing offensive linemen there in Houston. That's the perfect fit for that team. And they need them. I mean, they need to go offensive line. I will not draft another position for the Houston Texans until they get some offensive linemen for C.J. Stroud. To the Kansas City Chiefs, man. They've already hit a home run in this draft. Let's just go back and let's just see. Let's see. Kansas City Chiefs, we went... I gave him freaking Reuben Bain Jr., man. My best friend would not be very happy with me. But again, I don't do bias when I pick for teams. This is a point where I think, and this is the type of player that Spagnuolo gets and just excels with. He is a turnover creating machine, creates a lot of fumbles, can play the ball, has hands, very, very good vision. Does everything that you want to see from the cornerback position. Avion Terrell to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that's a home run pick for the Kansas City Chiefs. Miami Dolphins. Where did I go with them? No, that was Mansour Delane. I did Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs is where I went with them. That's right. Pretty positive. Yep. Caleb Downs to the Miami Dolphins, man. Another home. I mean, that's a grand slam pick for them for the safety position. Honestly, I could see them doubling up at that on the back end. Jermon McCoy, he is worthy of this pick. If you told me that they came away with Jermon McCoy and Caleb Downs in this draft, man, that's a very, very good start to supplementing the back end of that defense. We know they're not going to be a good team next year. Wide receiver, could they go wide receiver? I could see that. Chris Bell is worthy of the pick. I think the injury, there's definitely a concern with the injury anytime you have a player coming off of a knee injury. As long as the medical's checked out, I would think Chris Bell would be very, very, very worthy of the pick. Then you're looking at the New England Patriots here, man. This is a player that's probably not fallen to this point on anybody's mock draft. Keldrick Falk to the New England Patriots. Get some pass rush, man. You lost Clayvon Chason. Keldrick Falk is a really, really good edge player that I think would fit everything that they like to do there. And Mike Vrabel defense, I think Mike Vrabel would get the most out of a Keldrick Falk. He is a guy that gets pressures consistently, hasn't really necessarily gotten home. We saw what he did with Clayvon Chason, who had a very similar narrative going into his time in the NFL before he got to the New England Patriots. He's finally started to get home. Mike Vrabel is going to get guys home on the defense and things like that. Let's see. This is just a Seattle pick. I like Cisse from South Carolina. I've been drafting him a lot. I'm going to make this pick here simply off of consensus. Would Brandon Cisse be the pick for me if it was here? Yeah, probably. I have very similar grades on these players. Colton Hood, I think, is a guy that I just can't pass up. I know he's going in the first round. Colton Hood has a little bit more height than Cisse. He is the type of player that the Seattle Seahawks typically draft on the back end to fill their quarterback position. With Tyree Woolen leaving that defense, Kobe Bryant leaving that defense, they needed to upgrade their position on the back end. That's a home run pick for me. So again, this is how the draft fell, man. Fernando Mendoza at 1, Arvell Reese 2. I mean, you can pretty much look at here. I ain't got to name all the names. We just did it. Sonny Styles to the Commanders. I like that. I don't know if that's how it's going to necessarily happen. I don't know if Sonny Styles will even be available to us. Daniel Thiemann is, before Caleb Downs. I don't think I've seen that mocked anywhere really, but I think Daniel Thiemann is worthy of that pick. I have about 6 positions between them in overall grade, but I think, it's pick your preference. Do you want that elite level blue chip, type of player on the back end? A blue chip free safety is not going to go in the top 5. He's not, in most drafts, it's probably not even going to be graded in the top 5. I have a blue level grade for Daniel Thiemann. I think if he goes in the top 10, I would not be surprised. I think the floor for him, as I said, honestly, I don't think Daniel Thiemann would even get past the Cowboys at this point. 12 definitely would get ran up. They would definitely run the card in with LA. The Ravens, again, Daniel Thiemann I think is very, very worthy of the pick. It's just something we haven't really seen mocked around there. But again, this is my first round mock, man. I just wanted to get this out to you guys, have a little fun with this episode. Wasn't really necessarily planning on doing a mock today, but I'm still grading free agency signings around the league. But this is a very, very realistic, set of circumstances for what I think. Again, Blake Miller to the San Francisco 49ers, and then Max Ihenacho to the Houston Texans. I think those are more schematic fits. Could I see them swapping? I could. I think their grades are grading out very, very similar. I could very much see that. I think Caden Proctor has kind of fallen off. I don't think Caden Proctor is necessarily the type of guy that the San Francisco 49ers would draft. He does have the athletic makeups and things like that, but I don't think he's exactly the type of mover that you want, even for his size. I think Caden Proctor would be more of a fit for, the Houston Texans, which is why I went Max Ihenacho, because I think consensusly, and I think around the league, I think he's got a higher grade than most people have, on Caden Proctor. And I think Caden Proctor is going to be the odd man out. I think people wanted to see a lot more from him and things like that. That's why I went that direction. Jordan Tyson to the Eagles, that's a consensus thing. That's best player available, especially on the consensus board. Jordan Tyson is graded a lot higher on other people's boards than he is on mine. Casey Concepcion, that was a Tedero McMillan kind of blend. I would have necessarily gone Denzel Boston if it was due to my board. If it was a consensus board, maybe it's Jordan Tyson. I think the schematical fit in what they've already tried to address, previously with other picks. I think Casey Concepcion would be a dynamic player for the Carolina Panthers. TJ Parker to the edge to Minnesota. I still love TJ Parker. I think TJ Parker is going to go high. CJ Allen is the attitude pick for the Lions. So again, man, pick your preference, man. This is my first round. Again, it's just a mock. It's not really, nobody really knows what it's going to be at the end of the day. But again, thank you guys for checking out the Blue Chip Podcast, man. Have a blessed week. Hopefully, the news keeps coming out. There's going to be a lot more free agency signings over the next couple of weeks. We're going to get into that second and third wave. I think the third wave is really, really going to pick up after the draft. This second wave leading up to the draft, we're going to be discussing a lot of pro days and things like that. Fits for the Commanders, maybe in other guys that are at the pro days and system fits for them that we're going to talk for other teams. So again, we're going to be talking a lot of draft, a lot of things like that. That's why I'm doing these mocks and, naming a lot of prospects that I think are really, really kind of cementing themselves as these grades are locking up, these team fits are locking up, free agency is locking up. This is a mock draft that I could really, really kind of see going on. Are we going to see a lot of trades in this draft? I don't know, but ultimately we always do see trades. But again, I don't project those. I might do a draft, as we get, the day before the draft where I really, really could see a move like that being made if a player is falling. Then we'll start discussing trades. But again, this is my first round mock, kind of post first wave of free agency. I wanted to get out to you guys just from what I'm seeing. I haven't locked those grades up. But again, thank you guys for checking out the pod, man. Have a blessed week. And from the Blue Chip Podcast.